Today, I want to talk about something quiet, something simple, and something that changed the way I see my life. What I realized when I woke up before dawn. Not because I planned to, not because I set an alarm, but because my eyes opened and the world was still dark. Maybe this has happened to you too. You wake up, and for a few seconds, you don't know what time it is. The room feels heavy. The air feels cool. There is no sound from the street, no traffic, no voices, no messages on your phone. Just silence. And in that silence, there is you. I remember that morning very clearly. I opened my eyes and looked at the ceiling. It was almost black. A soft gray light was slowly entering the room, but the sun was still far away. I reached for my phone. 4:17 a.m. Too early to wake up. Too late to fall into deep sleep again. So I stayed there, still, listening. I could hear my own breathing, slow, calm, a little uneven. And I noticed something strange. I wasn't thinking about emails. I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't thinking about responsibilities. For the first time in a long time, my mind was quiet. Let me say that again slowly. My mind was quiet. Repeat after me. My mind was quiet. Sometimes we say, my mind is busy, or I can't stop thinking. But that morning, it was different. There were no loud thoughts, no stress, no pressure. Just space. And in that space, I realized something important. Most of my life happens in noise. Noise outside. Noise inside. The sound of notifications. The sound of expectations. The sound of my own voice telling me what I should do, what I must do, what I forgot to do. But before dawn, none of that was there. It felt like the world had not started yet. And I was the only one awake. Maybe you've felt that too. That strange feeling when you are awake and the world is sleeping. It can feel lonely, but it can also feel powerful. I slowly sat up in bed. The room was cold. I wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and walked to the window. Outside, the sky was deep blue. Not black. Not light. Somewhere in between. There is a beautiful expression in English, the break of dawn. The break of dawn. It means the moment when night begins to open and morning begins to enter. Break! Dawn. Try saying it slowly. The break of dawn. That morning, I stood there and watched the break of dawn. And I felt something I had not felt in a long time. I felt present. Present. Not thinking about yesterday. Not worrying about tomorrow. Just standing. Breathing. Watching. Sometimes we use the word present to talk about time, but we also use it to describe awareness. To be present means to be fully here, fully alive in this moment. Say it softly. I am present. Before dawn, it is easier to be present because there is less distraction, less performance, less pressure. I made a cup of tea. The kettle sounded louder than usual in the quiet kitchen. The small click when I turned on the light felt dramatic, almost like a stage. But it was just me. No audience. No schedule. I sat at the table with my tea and looked at the steam rising into the air. It moved slowly, like a ghost. Soft. Uncertain. And I asked myself a question. When was the last time I sat like this without doing anything? Not checking my phone. Not planning the day. Not trying to be productive. Just being. In English, we often say, I'm busy. I'm busy. We say it proudly. We say it as an excuse. We say it to show importance. But that morning before dawn, I realized something honest. I am not always busy. Sometimes I am just avoiding stillness, avoiding silence, avoiding my own thoughts. That realization was uncomfortable. But it was also freeing. Freeing. That's a powerful word. Freeing means giving freedom. That quiet morning was freeing. Because I did not need to be anyone. Not a teacher. Not a content creator. Not a responsible adult. Just a human being sitting at a table in the early morning. Have you ever had a moment like that? A moment when you suddenly see your life from a small distance. Not judging. Just observing. Observing is another beautiful word. To observe means to watch carefully, without changing, without interfering. I observed my thoughts. They were slow, gentle. I thought about my childhood. When I was young, mornings felt different. I remember waking up early before school. The house was silent. My parents were still asleep. The air smelled fresh. There was something magical about that time. I felt like I had discovered a secret. A secret hour. An hour that belonged only to me. As adults, we forget that feeling. We wake up with alarms. We jump out of bed. We rush. We scroll. We react. But before dawn, there is no rush. Time feels wide. Wide, not tight. Try saying that. Time feels wide. When time feels wide, we breathe differently. Our shoulders relax. Our thoughts stretch. That morning I realized that I have been living in tight time. Always looking at the clock. Always measuring productivity. Always asking, what's next? But before dawn, there was no next. There was only now. And I began to understand something deeper. Maybe the reason we feel tired is not just because we work hard. Maybe we feel tired because we never truly rest. Even when we sleep, our minds are full. Even on weekends, we are planning. Even on holidays, we are comparing. But in that quiet blue hour before the sun rose, I felt a different kind of rest. A waking rest. Rest while awake. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup and closed my eyes. I listened to my heartbeat. Slow. Steady. And I whispered something to myself. It's okay. It's okay. Such simple words, but so powerful. Repeat after me. It's okay. Sometimes we need to say that to ourselves. It's okay that you are not perfect. It's okay that you are still learning. It's okay that you feel confused sometimes. Before dawn, there is less judgment. Because no one is watching. And when no one is watching, we can be honest. Honest about our fears. Honest about our dreams. Honest about how tired we really are. I thought about you. Yes, you, the listener. Maybe you are learning English late at night. Maybe you are waking up early to practice before work. Maybe you feel behind. Maybe you feel slow. Maybe you compare yourself to others and think, I should be better by now. But what if learning English is not a race? What if it is more like dawn? Slow, gradual, soft. You don't see the sun immediately. First, the sky changes. Then the light grows. Then shapes appear. Then warmth arrives. Learning works like that too. You don't suddenly become fluent. First, you understand a word, then a sentence, then a story, then a feeling. And one day, you realize you are thinking in English. But it happened slowly, quietly, like the break of dawn. That morning, I did not plan to have a life lesson. I just woke up early. But sometimes the most important realizations come when we are not searching for them. They arrive gently, when we are still enough to notice. Notice, that's another word I love. To notice means to become aware of something small. Maybe today you can notice something simple. The sound of your breath. The weight of your body in your chair. The way light touches the wall. You are not just learning English. You are learning how to notice. And when you can notice your world, you can describe it. When you can describe it, you can own it. Language is not just grammar. It is attention. Attention to your life. Before dawn, I realized I have been living on the surface. Moving quickly, answering messages, creating plans, finishing tasks, but rarely sitting with myself, rarely asking, how do I really feel? So I asked that question, how do I really feel? And the answer surprised me. I felt tired, not physically, emotionally, tired of proving, tired of comparing, tired of trying to be impressive. In the darkness before sunrise, I did not need to impress anyone. And that felt peaceful. Peaceful. Say it slowly. Peaceful. Sometimes peace does not come from changing your life. It comes from pausing your noise. As the sky became lighter, I noticed birds beginning to sing. One, then two, then many. Their voices were clear and simple. They were not worried about grammar. They were not afraid of mistakes. They were just expressing, and I smiled. Because that is what I want for you. To express, not perfectly, not impressively, but honestly. Maybe you make mistakes when you speak English. That's okay. Mistakes are like the first light of dawn. They are signs that something is beginning. If you wait to speak until you are perfect, you will stay in the dark. But if you speak slowly, gently, imperfectly, the light will grow. The sun finally appeared. A thin line of gold at the edge of the buildings. And I felt grateful. Grateful for waking up early. Grateful for silence. Grateful for the realization that I do not need to run all the time. There is a phrase in English to slow down. To slow down, it does not mean to stop your life. It means to move with awareness, to feel your steps, to choose your words. That morning changed something small inside me. Not dramatic, not revolutionary, just small. But small changes are powerful. They are sustainable. They stay. Since that day, I sometimes wake up before dawn on purpose. Not every day, but sometimes. I sit, I breathe, I listen, and I remind myself, you are not behind. You are not late. You are unfolding, unfolding, like the sky at dawn, like a flower opening. Learning English is unfolding too. You do not force it open. You give it light. You give it time. You give it patience. And it opens. Maybe tomorrow you will wake up before dawn. Maybe you won't. It doesn't matter. What matters is this. Can you create a small moment of dawn inside your day? 5 minutes of silence. 5 minutes without scrolling. 5 minutes to ask yourself, how do I feel? And then describe it in English. Even one sentence. I feel calm. I feel uncertain. I feel hopeful. Simple sentences, but powerful, because they are yours. That morning before dawn, I realized that growth does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers, and if you are quiet enough, you can hear it. You are not just learning vocabulary. You are building a relationship with your inner voice. You are giving words to feelings that once had no language. And that is brave, very brave. As the city fully woke up, cars began to pass, doors opened, phones vibrated. The spell of dawn slowly disappeared, but something stayed with me. A softness, a reminder that I can return to stillness anytime. Even in the middle of a busy day, I can pause. I can breathe. I can notice. And I can speak. Not perfectly, but honestly. Maybe that is the real lesson of waking up before dawn. It is not about productivity. It is not about discipline. It is about awareness. Awareness that you are alive. Awareness that you are growing. Awareness that you do not need to rush your becoming. So tonight, when you go to sleep, do not worry about tomorrow's tasks. And if you wake up before dawn, do not reach for your phone immediately. Lie there for a moment. Feel the quiet. Listen to your breath. And ask yourself gently, what is growing inside me? Then, if you want, whisper your answer in English. Even if your voice shakes, even if your sentence is simple, that is enough. Because you are not just practicing a language. You are practicing presence. You are practicing courage. You are practicing being human. And before we say goodbye, I want to stay here with you just a little longer. Because that morning did not end when the sun came up. It followed me into the day. After the sky turned bright and the city began to move, I felt the familiar pull of responsibility. Messages started arriving. My calendar reminded me of meetings. The rhythm of the world became faster. But something inside me was different. Have you ever had that feeling? When the outside world is busy, but the inside of you is still calm. It is a quiet strength. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just steady. That morning, when I answered my first message, I noticed my breathing. I was not rushing. When I walked outside, I noticed the air on my face. It felt cooler than usual. When I spoke to someone, I listened more carefully, because I had already listened to myself. There is a simple sentence I want you to try. I am here. Say it slowly. I am here. Not in yesterday. Not in tomorrow. Here. Sometimes we feel like our life is always somewhere else. We say, when I get a better job, I'll relax. When my English improves, I'll feel confident. When I move to another country, I'll be happy. But before dawn, I realized something honest. Life is not waiting for me in the future. It is happening now. Even in small, quiet moments. Especially in small, quiet moments. That realization stayed with me during the day, and I noticed something else. Usually, when I make a mistake, maybe I forget something, or I say the wrong word, I feel a small wave of frustration. Maybe you feel that too when you speak English. You say something and immediately you think, oh no, that was wrong. You feel embarrassed. You want to disappear. But that day, when I made a small mistake, I reacted differently. I paused. I breathed. And I thought, it's okay. I'm learning. That same sentence from the early morning came back. It's okay. Before dawn, I had given myself permission to be human. And that permission continued into the day. Let me ask you something gently. When you make a mistake in English, what do you say to yourself? Do you say, I'm stupid? Do you say, I'll never be fluent? Or can you try something softer? I'm learning. Say that with me. I'm learning. That sentence changes everything, because learning is a process, not a performance. Before dawn, there is no audience. No one is judging the sky for being dark. No one is criticizing the sun for rising slowly. Nature unfolds without pressure. And maybe you can too. Later that week, I woke up early again. Not as early as 4:17 a.m., but early enough that the world still felt half asleep. This time, I didn't feel surprised. I felt curious. I went outside for a short walk. The streets were almost empty. One man was opening a small shop. A woman was watering plants in front of her house. A delivery truck passed quietly. There was a feeling of beginning. A beginning that most people never see. We often see the middle of things, the busy hours, the loud conversations, the finished results. But we rarely see the beginning. And learning English is also like that. People hear someone speaking fluently. They see confidence. They see smooth sentences. But they don't see the early mornings, the quiet practice, the small attempts, the repeated mistakes, the private doubt. Before dawn is like the hidden part of growth, the part no one applauds, the part that feels invisible. But it is necessary, very necessary. As I walked, I practiced a few English phrases in my head. simple ones. I feel awake. The sky is turning light. The air smells fresh. You can try that too. When you are alone, describe what you see. Not complicated sentences, just honest ones. The street is quiet. I hear a bird. I feel calm. Language becomes alive when it touches reality, not when it stays in a textbook. That morning, I realized that the best classroom is your life, your kitchen, your street, your thoughts. You don't need perfect conditions. You need awareness. And before dawn, awareness feels easier. I also noticed something about fear. At night, when we can't sleep, fear sometimes feels bigger. Our worries grow in the dark. But before dawn, fear felt smaller, because the light was coming. Even if I couldn't see the sun yet, I knew it was on its way. That gave me comfort. And maybe this is true for you too. Maybe right now, your English feels dark. You understand a little, but not everything. You can speak a little, but not confidently. It feels uncertain. But just because you cannot see the sun does not mean it is not rising. Growth is happening under the surface. Your brain is connecting sounds and meanings. Your mouth is becoming more familiar with new shapes. Your ears are recognizing patterns. It is slow, but it is real. Let me give you a phrase. Progress is quiet. Say it gently. Progress is quiet. We often expect progress to be loud. A big improvement. A dramatic change. But most progress happens silently, like the sky changing from black to blue. You don't see the exact moment it shifts, but suddenly it's lighter. One evening, after several mornings of waking early, I asked myself a new question. Why do I feel so different at this time of day? And I understood something simple. Before dawn, I am not reacting. I am choosing. During the day, I react to emails, to requests, to noise. But early in the morning, I choose how to begin. Choose. That word is important. You cannot control everything in your life. But you can choose small beginnings. You can choose to speak one sentence. You can choose to listen to one story. You can choose to repeat one phrase. These small choices create a direction. Maybe you cannot wake up before dawn. Maybe your schedule is full. Maybe you are tired. That's okay. The lesson is not about the time. It is about the space. Can you create a space in your day where you are not reacting, where you are simply noticing? Even 3 minutes. Close your eyes. Take a slow breath. And say one sentence in English about your feeling. I feel nervous. I feel hopeful. I feel tired but determined. Determined. That is another beautiful word. It means you continue, even when it's difficult. Before dawn, I felt determined in a quiet way. Not the kind of determination that shouts, I will change my life today. But the kind that whispers, I will continue. Continue. Learning English is not about intensity. It is about continuity. Small steps. Repeated. Gently. You do not need to transform overnight. You need to return. Return to your practice. Return to your voice. Return to your intention. As the days passed, I began to look forward to those early moments. Not because they were productive, but because they were honest. Honest about who I am without roles, without performance. And I realized something else. The way you begin your day influences the way you speak to yourself. If you wake up and immediately scroll through news and messages, your mind fills with other people's voices, other people's opinions, other people's urgency. But if you wake up and listen to your own breath first, your own voice becomes stronger. Stronger, not louder. Clearer. When your inner voice is clearer, your spoken voice becomes clearer too. You hesitate less. You trust your words more. Even if they are simple, there is power in simplicity. I am learning. I am growing. I am here. Short sentences, but full of meaning. Before dawn, I realized that confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you practice. In silence. In small acts of courage. Like speaking one sentence even if your grammar is not perfect. Like repeating a phrase until it feels natural. Like listening again even when you feel tired. Confidence grows in quiet repetition. Just like the sun rises every morning without asking for permission. It rises because it is its nature. And maybe growth is your nature too. Not because someone forces you, but because you are alive. You are curious. You are trying. As I sit here now, remembering that first morning at 4:17 a.m., I feel grateful. Grateful that I did not immediately close my eyes and escape back into sleep. Grateful that I stayed awake long enough to notice something deeper. Sometimes the most important moments in our life are not dramatic. They are quiet. They are almost invisible. But they shift something inside us. And you might not notice the shift immediately. But one day, you respond differently to stress. One day, you speak with more calm. One day, you realize you are not as afraid as before. And you think something has changed. It changed slowly, like dawn. So tonight, or tomorrow morning, or whenever you find a quiet moment, I invite you to try something simple. Sit still. Take one slow breath. And say in English, I am becoming. I am becoming. Not finished. Not perfect. Becoming. Let that word stay with you. Because you are not behind. You are not late. You are not failing. You are becoming. And becoming takes time. Like the sky before sunrise. Like language before fluency. Like courage before confidence. Stay with your practice. Stay with your voice. Even in darkness, the light is already on its way. And even after I say those words, I still don't feel ready to leave this space with you. Because there is one more thing I understood in those early mornings. Before dawn, everything feels possible. Not because you have a perfect plan. Not because your problems disappear. But because nothing has happened yet. The day has not made any mistakes. No one has criticized you. No email has disappointed you. It is a clean beginning. and that feeling of a clean beginning is powerful. In English, we sometimes say a fresh start. A fresh start. Say it softly. A fresh start. We usually think a fresh start requires something big, a new year, a new job, a new city. But that morning I realized something gentle. A fresh start can happen at 4:17 a.m. in a quiet room. It can happen in your mind. It can happen in one breath. You do not need to change your life to begin again. You only need to pause long enough to notice that you are allowed to begin again. I remember one specific thought that came to me as the sky was turning pale blue. I thought, what if I stop being so hard on myself? It was not a dramatic promise. It was a question. What if? Sometimes growth begins with what if? What if I speak even if I'm not perfect? What if I forgive myself for yesterday? What if I trust that I am improving, even if I cannot see it clearly? Try saying this sentence. What if I am stronger than I think? Say it slowly. What if I am stronger than I think? Before dawn, that sentence feels believable, because there is no noise arguing with you, no comparison, no pressure, just space. And in space, possibility expands. Later, during one of those early mornings, I made a small decision. Nothing dramatic. I decided that when I practice English and when I teach it, I will focus less on perfection and more on presence. Presence over perfection. That phrase stayed with me. Presence over perfection. Maybe you can repeat that too. Presence over perfection. Perfection is heavy. It demands. It criticizes. It says not good enough. Presence is lighter. It says, I am here. I am trying. When you speak English with presence, you are not performing. You are communicating. When you listen with presence, you are not translating every word in fear. You are feeling the rhythm. Before dawn, I felt the rhythm of the world waking up. The soft hum of electricity. The first car in the distance. A bird landing on a rooftop. Everything gradual. Everything patient. And I realized something about patience. We often say, be patient. But patience is not just waiting. Patience is trusting the process while you wait. Trusting. That is a deep word. Trusting that your effort matters. Trusting that repetition works. Trusting that confusion is part of clarity. When you feel confused in English, it does not mean you are bad at it. It means your brain is building new pathways. It is stretching. And stretching can feel uncomfortable. But discomfort is not failure. Discomfort is growth in motion. Before dawn, I felt comfortable with not knowing everything. I did not need answers. I did not need solutions. I was simply aware. And maybe that is something we can practice together. Awareness without judgment. If you forget a word, notice it. If you mispronounce something, notice it. But do not attack yourself. Say, I noticed this, and then continue. Continue is a gentle word. It does not push. It does not force. It invites. Continue, even when you are tired. Even when progress feels even when others seem faster. Because remember, dawn does not compete with noon. It does not rush to become midday. It unfolds at its own pace. Your learning has its own pace too. One morning, while watching the sky brighten, I felt something unexpected. Gratitude. Gratitude for being awake. Gratitude for having the ability to think in 2 languages. Gratitude for being a beginner in some areas of my life. Yes, even gratitude for being a beginner. Because beginners see things differently. They notice details. They ask questions. They are humble. Sometimes when we become advanced, we stop noticing. We move automatically. But beginners are alive with curiosity. And you, as a learner, carry that gift. Curiosity. Curiosity is more important than perfection. Say it with me. Curiosity is more important than perfection. When you are curious, mistakes become interesting. New words become exciting. Conversations become discoveries. Before dawn, I felt curious about my own life. Instead of asking, "What do I have to do today?" I asked, "What can I notice today?" That small change in question changed my experience. Questions shape attention. And attention shapes language. If you ask yourself, "Why am I so bad at English?" your mind searches for proof of failure. But if you ask, "What small improvement can I see today?" your mind searches for growth. Try that tomorrow. After you practice, ask, "What improved?" Maybe your pronunciation was clearer. Maybe you understood one more sentence. Maybe you felt less afraid. Small improvements count. They matter. Before dawn, improvements are subtle. But they are real. There is also something about darkness that teaches humility. When the room is dark, you cannot see everything clearly. And that is okay. You move slowly, carefully. Learning English can feel like walking in dim light. You understand some words. Others are shadows. But as long as you keep moving, the light increases. You do not need full brightness to take the next step. You only need enough light for one step, one sentence, one conversation, one attempt. And sometimes, the most important step is not forward. It is inward. Looking inside and asking, "Why am I learning this language?" Is it for work? For travel? For connection? For confidence? Before dawn, I felt connected to something deeper than productivity. I felt connected to my own growth. And I realized that language is not just a tool. It is a bridge between people, a bridge between thoughts and expression, a bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. Becoming. That word returns again, because before dawn, everything is becoming. The sky is becoming light. The birds are becoming louder. The city is becoming awake. And you are becoming more capable, more aware, more confident. Even if you cannot see it clearly yet, one last image stays in my mind from those mornings. There is a moment just before the sun appears when the sky is bright, but the sun itself is still hidden. You know it is coming. You feel it. But you do not see it. That is where many learners are brightening. understanding more, feeling change, but not yet seeing the full sun of fluency. And that is okay, because that stage is beautiful too. Do not rush through it. Do not insult it by saying it's not enough. It is enough for today. Today's light is enough for today. Tomorrow will bring more. So if you ever wake up before dawn again, or if you simply find a quiet moment in your day, remember this. You are allowed to grow slowly. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to be imperfect and present at the same time. Close your eyes for a moment, if you can. Take a slow breath and say in English, I trust my growth. I trust my growth. Let those words settle inside you. Because learning is not just about adding vocabulary. It is about building trust with yourself. Trust that you will continue. Trust that you will return. Trust that you will not give up on your voice. Before dawn, I found a quiet kind of courage. Not loud, not visible, but steady. And I believe that same courage exists in you. You do not need to wake up at 4:17 a.m. to find it. You only need a moment of stillness, a moment of honesty, a moment to say, I am here. I am learning. I am becoming. And that is enough. And as we come to the very end of this journey together, I want to leave you with one final realization that stayed with me long after those early mornings. Before dawn, I met a version of myself that I rarely see during the day. A quieter version, a kinder version, a version that does not measure life in achievements, but in awareness. During the day, it is easy to identify yourself by roles. I am a teacher. I am an employee. I am a parent. I am a student. But before dawn, there are no roles. There is just breath, just presence, just being. And I realized something simple but powerful. If I can be kind to myself before the world wakes up, I can carry that kindness into the world. Kindness toward myself when I forget something. Kindness when I speak imperfectly. Kindness when I feel tired. Maybe this is the real lesson of waking up before dawn. It is not about waking early. It is about meeting yourself without noise. Meeting yourself without judgment. Meeting yourself before the world tells you who you should be. Let me ask you something gently. When was the last time you met yourself like that? Without distraction, without comparison, without pressure. Learning English gives you a beautiful opportunity to do this. Because when you learn a new language, you slow down. You choose words carefully. You listen more closely. You become more aware of how you express yourself. Language learning can be a mirror. It shows you your patience, your frustration, your courage, your resilience. Resilience is another important word. It means the ability to continue even when something is difficult. Say it slowly. Resilience. Every time you return to practice, you are building resilience. Every time you try again after a mistake, you are strengthening something inside you. And before dawn, I realized that resilience does not always look strong. Sometimes it looks quiet. Sometimes it looks like a person sitting in a dark room, choosing not to give up, choosing to breathe, choosing to begin again. One morning, as I watched the first light touch the buildings, I felt something very clear. I felt that my life is not a race against time. It is a relationship with time. A relationship. And like any relationship, it requires attention, respect, patience. If you fight time, you feel stressed. If you rush time, you feel behind. But if you move with time, like dawn moves into day, you feel aligned. Aligned means in harmony, in balance. Try saying this sentence. I move at my own pace. I move at my own pace. That does not mean you stop trying. It means you stop comparing your speed to others. Some people speak English fluently after a few years. Others take longer. Some people are confident quickly. Others grow slowly. But slow does not mean weak. Slow can mean deep. Slow can mean stable. Before dawn, nothing is rushed. And yet, everything arrives. The sun always rises. Not once has it failed. Your growth is like that too. Maybe you cannot see it clearly every day. But if you keep showing up even in small ways, it is happening. And now, as we end this episode, I want you to imagine something. Imagine tomorrow morning. It doesn't matter what time you wake up. Before you check your phone. Before you stand up. Before you begin your responsibilities. Pause. Take one breath. And say one sentence in English. Just one. I am ready for today. Or, I feel calm. Or, I am still learning. Let that sentence be your personal dawn. A small light inside you. Because the truth is, you do not need perfect conditions to grow. You do not need perfect grammar to speak. You do not need perfect confidence to begin. You only need willingness. Willingness to try. Willingness to continue. Willingness to be patient with yourself. Before dawn, I realized that growth is not something I chase. It is something I allow. I allow myself to learn. I allow myself to be imperfect. I allow myself to move slowly. And I allow myself to trust the process. Trust. That word again. Trust that your effort matters. Trust that your voice deserves space. Trust that one day you will look back and realize how far you have come. Even if today feels small. Especially if today feels small. Small days build strong foundations. Small sentences build strong fluency. Small moments of awareness build a strong life. So as we close this quiet conversation, carry this image with you. A dark sky slowly turning blue. A silent world slowly waking. A person sitting still, breathing gently, choosing to begin again. That person can be you. Not perfect, not finished, but becoming, always becoming. This is English with Thomas. I'm Thomas. Keep speaking, keep growing, and keep trusting yourself.